So one of the simplest ways I know how to do this thing and focus on the good is gratitude practice. Like I said at the start of this, you've probably heard of it. You've probably either started using it or gone, oh God. But most people have heard of writing down 3 things you're grateful for at the end of the day. And yeah, if you haven't tried it, I really recommend it. Writing things out is also useful. But if you can't be asked, just have them floating through your mind as you go to sleep. You could make up 100 things in one day if you got practiced at this. One of my friends, Usha, who I've mentioned here, Usha Rahman, great coach, she practices gratitude and she would increase her number and increase her number. I can't remember how many she got to, but I'm sure she could do easily 50 or 100 things she was grateful for. And you could too if you tried. It actually really helps hone the muscle of how blessed your life is, right? So I'd really recommend the 3 things, but there's something else I'd like to add which people don't talk about as much, and I'm sorry, I don't know where I got it from, but after those gratitudes, the 3 gratitudes, ask yourself, what was it about me that helped create this? Because like myself, I don't think I'm Robinson Crusoe, that a lot of us are willing to appreciate life but refuse to acknowledge ourselves in it. So let's try that idea. So if I said one thing I'm grateful for today is Luna, my beautiful dog. She's the dog I wanted, the dog my husband wasn't entirely convinced about, and I tell Luna often that I chose her. I don't think she gets it. I also remind Anne. Luna is now one of the great loves and lights of our family, right? And I really created that, right? I got in touch with my friend Jen, who'd got the sister of Luna. I contacted the breeder a year ahead of time. It was in COVID. There were no dogs. I worked to be number 1 on the breeders list over about 6 months. Then when we went to meet the dogs, there was meant to be a different dog we wanted, but I saw Luna, saw how she reacted to us. I chose her. I fought for her. I brought that joy into my life. So I've said that pretty strong, right? But actually I worked for a year and convinced my husband to spend a fortune on a dog that turned out to not even be a breed, but worth it, right? I brought that joy into our lives. I did it. Yeah, that's awesome, even to say that now. Another thing I'm grateful for, of course, is my house, my Treehouse that I've mentioned here. It's my dream house. I can sit there in the lounge and look out at the beautiful trees and horizon. And yes, there was luck involved. There's always luck in life, but there was courage, there was action. I said yes when there was an opportunity. I helped my husband say yes. And the third thing today, what I was grateful for earlier is that I was able to catch myself where it started badly, and I was in that routine you've heard of where I'm not enough and I'm behind and all the rest. But then through doing my reset practice of Lockie's, my welcoming emotions with Stephen Bodian, and having some awareness and commitment to myself, I was able to turn that towards myself with kindness. And, you know, I've spent years learning how to do that. I've worked so hard. I've faced so much stuff. I've been so brave. You can ask Lockie if you need confirmation. He marvels at me in terms of what I'm willing to do and what I'm willing to look at and where I'm willing to go. And I've spent years learning that and been so committed. And I can give myself credit for it, right? It always feels weird when I say stuff like that, like you got tickets on yourself, tall poppy, but it's true. And the only reason I'm saying it here, actually I was going to say the only reason I'm saying it here is so you can do it for yourself. That's an outright lie. I'm saying it here because I want to say it here to look good, but it is because you can then do it for yourself as well. So it's not just about appreciating life gratitude, it's about appreciating yourself and really in that soft and gentle and honest way. Another thing about gratitude that you may not know about is what it both does for other people, but what it does for yourself when you do that. So we've talked about the benefits of gratitude in appreciating your life the most you can. We've talked about gratitude in actually it's the ironic way you create more by being completely in love with what you already have, even if it's imperfect. That one was such a breakthrough. And then, of course, learning how to love yourself more. But when you look at the idea of giving gratitude to other people, and again, it was in the Sean Aker TED Talk, gives one person a day a genuine compliment, not only does it make such a profound difference to them And you imagine when you get something like that, it really changes your day. I mean, it can change your year or your life. I have been given compliments that have changed my perspective forever. I have given compliments where people said that absolutely changed my perspective and also what I was going to do next. But here's the thing. You can do this stuff and be really selfish accidentally, because when you express gratitude or recognition to someone else, you feel better too. You experience being loving, being kind, being generous. In Buddhism, it's called Metta, being in this state of loving kindness. And if you want to have a practice of this and you haven't done it before, the best way to start is with someone you really already love and don't have a complex relationship with and ups and downs. You just think they're awesome and you love them and you just wish them well. It might be a young child, it might be a friend, it might be a family member, it might be your dog. You might need to start with your dog. What is it that when you feel your love for them and that you really wish them well, as you're feeling that, how does that feel for you? So not people-pleasing, not for any other reason apart from genuinely appreciative. When I see online cruelty, it makes me so sad for so many reasons. One, the impact of people being cruel to someone else and the impact on the person receiving that cruelty, but also the confusion of the person being hateful because the ego is being hateful. They want to feel superior or better than solely from their ego. Their heart is not part of the story at all. And actually, I don't know about you, but when I come from my ego negatively rather than my heart and check in how I actually feel, I feel like an asshole. Like I've had arguments with my husband before where I have won the argument and my ego's delighted. But when I check in how I feel really ashamed and I hate who I am. So I think people feel so much better if they express kindness rather than contempt. But it can, of course, feel too scary for people if they don't want to feel vulnerable, right? That's why they will come from their ego, because it protects them, like I've talked about mine wanting to protect me. The final thing about gratitude is we're really bad at getting somewhere, right? We're really bad at enjoying where we've gotten to, whether it's the job, the partner, the achievement, the house, whatever, the audience in my case. We have a celebration and then we think, what's next? And I wrote a whole LinkedIn post about this for myself. The term I've been looking for the whole episode is hedonic adaptation. It's being a human. We constantly move the goalposts. We're constantly postponing happiness. We're constantly pushing the joy over the cognitive horizon. The idea that we think I'll be happy when this arrives, when this happens, the happiness moves again and again and again. We can never get there. Now is there. Now is the only moment. Not to bring in mindfulness, but can't help it. The only moment is now. Like Stephen Bodian says, remember, reset, recognise, rest. Here I am right now. Gratitude interrupts the process of what's next. It says, hang on, before we move those goalposts, can we just stop and acknowledge this? Can we appreciate this? Can we spend a moment with what's happening right now? Can we notice that some of what we once prayed for is already here? This line alone, you are living the life you used to pray for. That both makes me feel so joyful and like bawling, because when I think of how much I suffer in this current day, when everything I've prayed for has come true, almost, right? Almost everything I prayed for in my life. I have my husband, who I never thought I'd have. I have a son I never thought I'd have. I have the house I don't think I ever thought I'd get. I have a small business, which interestingly I had as the test of success in my life. Now, this is a key. I'll tell this story quickly. This is so useful, right? If you look at me and what I've shared here, and if you've watched me for a while or read my stuff on LinkedIn or wherever it might be, I had a rule for myself running right up until the business succeeded, that if Discern succeeded as a business and success was defined as being independently income earning so that our family could live off that income, I would have had a successful life, right? So that was the decision I made, and I worked for that for, say, 20 years through becoming a trainer, contract trainer, starting the business with Andy, completing the business in terms of its success. It has been the level of success I wanted it to be for maybe 3 years. It has allowed the experiment of the podcast. It's allowed the experiment of the different styles of coaching, all the other things I've been, the space and time I've had to worry about who I am and how I feel about things. Shouldn't be too mean to myself, but it has given me that space. That is very important to notice as an example of how this thing works. I said, if I get that, I will feel like a success in life. When I got that, I almost missed the moment it happened and just went on to what's next. Where I have been trapped in the time since then is the stuff I've talked about here. How do I get recognised? How do I get known? So I've set a new goal, a painful new goal, ego-based, and what I'm trying to figure out at the moment is what is the real goal, right? But if we go back to the idea, can we notice that some of what we prayed for is already here, and can we really sit in that? Because I think for a lot of listeners or watchers of this, you're actually inside the life you once wanted. And then as a part of our Western culture that I talked about in the success video, as a part of hedonic adaptation as a human being, our natural state, sadly, we just go, what's next, what's next, what's next? So maybe just for tonight, write down 3 things you're grateful for, or think about what you've already achieved, or think about where you're already up to, and then think, what was it about me that helped create that? Because life isn't happening to you, you're creating it, and more than you realise, much more than you realise. Yes, shit happens, please don't get me wrong. I do think bad things happen to very good people. But the stuff you can control, you're in a lot more control than you realise, or I realise when I'm lost. And if you're anything like me, you might discover there is a lot more beauty, abundance, love, goodness in your life than you're already giving yourself credit for or your life's credit for. And here's the trick. If you want more of that, appreciate what you've got. It's the only way you're going to get more. The mean irony. Love your life and you'll get more love. Do yourself a favour. Thanks for being here. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe. And if you like what you've heard about me, you can see more here.